Hello, book collector, book investor, and welcome to another episode. My name is Haf from minipokemar.com, and today we're going to be talking about the market cycles, when to identify peaks, when to identify bottoms, in order for you to actually take advantage of your investment when you decide to sell. So you don't want to miss out. Yeah, so I know I said that today we will be talking about how to operate a card shop. I apologize, that video is going to be longer, so I decided to postpone it a little bit more. As you can see behind me, there's some boxes we're moving out, so I decided to postpone it and actually talk a little bit more about like the market cycles. And we'll start, there's seven steps or 7 stages of a cycle, and I think it's important to identify all of them in order for you to take advantage of your investment, or also identify, like as a collector, when to buy, when not to buy, because probably you're being swapped into the fear of missing out and actually buying cards that might be too expensive right now. And the best thing will be to focus on others that are not as expensive and then move on to the expensive ones once the cycles happen. So let's just start talking about cycles. Cycles are usually 7 stages, and all markets are cyclical, right? You probably have heard that term of markets are cyclical. They go up, they go down. And today we're going to be talking more specifically about the antiques and collectible cycle, which it's predominantly run by 7 very, very unique stages. So let's start with the number 1. The number 1 is the stability line. The stability line is basically the line of the current prices that are happening before a spike up, or before kind of the bull run, if you want to call it that way. The stability line on the Pokemon market probably was before 2020, before all this spike in interest and prices. Like probably beginning of 2020, we could consider that the stability line, where prices were below $100,000 for a Charizard PSA 10 first edition, where like a booster box of first edition was not $370,000. Like that was before the this spike run. So that's the stability line is a place where prices are not going up dramatically. They're stable, right? They're going up and down like any normal market, very small cycles, but nothing too intense. All right, so that's kind of the stability line. That's the first step. The second step is the takeoff, right? The moment kind of everything starts to spiral out of control, and we start to see a consistent amount of change in price in across the whole category. You start seeing like cards going up in value for more than 10-20% against what was the regular price. You start seeing like an immense amount of interest in the hobby. You start to see a lot of rare pieces of the hobby itself to actually popping up in the market, because there's now a market that it's eager to buy stuff. And then that's the takeoff. And then the third step after that second step, which is the takeoff, is the run. The run is a consistent race on prices, a consistent amount of people buying into the market, and all-time highs happening every single day or every single week. You have that bull run, what it's considered a bull run on the stock market. You have this kind of bull run in the collectibles and antiques space, and it happens very quickly. It's something that happens so fast that it's hard to keep up. You start getting a bunch of interest, a bunch of new time highs, a bunch of increase in price, and then you start to slowly notice a big difference between the top collectible of that space, aka first edition Charizard and base set, versus other parts of the hobby. Like if we compare what base set versus Skyridge, for example, there's a big difference. When there's that big gap on something like a collectible space, it means that definitely we are on a run, and the run will probably last for several months. It could last years. It will not be as long as a bull market on the stock exchange, for example, because antiques and collectibles are a little bit more volatile. But it could last months, it could last days, it could last years. It's very hard to know when the run is going to stop, but when it stops, you definitely find out. You definitely notice. And we reach the peak, and the peak is when the not such high-end collectible items stop increasing in price. They just become stable, and then that's just the signal of the peak. You are not longer seeing national news or a lot of buzz against, like, oh, new time highs of this one or new time highs of that one. In the Pokemon collector space right now, what I can see is that we're still having some of the buzz around the media about, like, oh, this new Charizard might get $500,000 in auction and so on. We'll need to wait for those auctions to happen to see if the prices are actually getting to that peak. Because in a peak, the high end side of the hobby will still increase in price, not that dramatically as before, and then the low end and the middle end kind of cards will stop increasing. That means that we reach the peak, and then we'll have like a level, and that level means that the we have reached a new kind of side of stability. We're about to reach a new stability lane. The prices now get leveled, and we are not longer seeing like this amount of huge spike now that the peak happened, and then things are becoming more stable again. And the level probably will last for certain amount of time. It's a short period of time where prices are just leveled. It seems that we reached like a new normal on prices. There's no record beating ones. They just sell for what they are. It seems that it's a new stability but it's still not a new stability line. It seems like one, but it is not. After some time on this level line, we'll see a traceback. And the traceback is a drop in price across the board. You'll see that for some strange reason, like, people are now selling even the high-end stuff, but there's not a lot of interest anymore, at least not for the all-time highs. People freak out because they spent too much on the collectible, and now they need to sell it because they cannot afford to keep it, but the market is no longer paying for that. You see people actually losing money, and then that's where what they call the bubble pops, and then you get that downward trend on prices, where now this all across the board, like graded cards, high-end cards, seal packs, everything just doesn't go up anymore. And people are selling because they have too much, they spend too much, and then they want to get rid to recover some of their investment, and they're freaking out because they are seeing the prices going down and down, and then there's this race to the bottom to actually just get rid of it. And it happens in every single market. If people tells you that Pokemon will never go through something like that, it's BS, because all markets go up and down. There's no way that a market will keep going up forever. And Pokemon, you see it, you saw a little bit of a traceback already on Unlimited, but we are not definitely at these traceback period that I'm referring. And I'll give a little bit of an overview of where I see Pokemon so far after we understand all the levels. So that's the next level. That's level number 6 of the 7th. You get that traceback, and we go down to prices that are lower, and then we get another stability line. I keep saying line. And then that new stability line is definitely bigger. It's higher. The prices are higher from the previous stability line. You will never go back to that stability line unless you get something substantially bad with the hobby. But it's perfectly normal, and it's great to have this type of cycles, because it means that the hobby is growing and that there's investors and more intelligent collectors flooding into the hobby itself. So those are the 7. Just to recap, we have a stability line that happens before Then we get a takeoff period where we start seeing like a lot of interest in the hobby. You start seeing like prices going up and up and up more than 20%. And then suddenly you take a run. And the run, it's a long period of time where you're constantly seeing an increase in prices, a constant coverage of the media, a constant buzz of influencers and people that have a lot of influence into the hobby or into people. You see a lot of new people that didn't care about that specifically collectible going into the market and buying more, and the market starts to see like this huge bull run. Then we get to that peak where we start seeing less coverage from the media. You start seeing less coverage from influencers and people that have like huge audiences that can motivate more sales, and you start to see like a new stability. So after that peak, you get a stability line, which is not called stability line because it's not a stability line, but it's a temporary stability line for some period of time. And then we get a traceback where prices revert back a little bit, and then we get a new stability line which could last for a year, 2 years more. So that's kind of the cycles, and then it repeats, right? It goes over and over and over again. So now that we understand the different cycles, let's just talk a little bit about the Pokemon market, right? If we look at it very closely at what has happened for the past months, we can identify clearly the cycles, right? We were in a stability line at the beginning of 2020. We got a takeoff around probably, what was it? When the COVID started and the checks started to go out to people, we saw like takeoff. I thought that was a catalyst as a takeoff, and we saw it going up. Then we got this huge run, which, by the way, I think it hasn't ended, but we're close to that peak. And the reason why I think we're close to the peak is because we saw this buzz around influencers buying cards like crazy, getting prices that were all-time highs, and every single week we could see like an all-time high in the news kind of thing. But now if you look at the market and if you look at the news and everything, it's kind of slowing down. And let me know if you agree here in the comment section, because I would love to hear your thoughts. But I think it's slowing down. We're about to reach that peak, and then we'll get a temporary stability line for a little bit, and then we'll get a trace back. So I think we're reaching that peak. We're not yet on a new stable era. I see still some buzz, a little bit reminiscent of what has happened in the past months. So I'm expecting that it will keep a little bit going up, and then we'll reach that temporary stability line, and then we'll do a drop. Why I'm saying this, we see some auctions still going on that are breaking some prices. There's this article going on that an auction coming soon for a first edition base at Charizard might break records for $500,000. Let's see what happens there. That probably will give you a good indication of where we're standing. So monitor the auctions, monitor eBay, and double check what is going on in the market, and you'll get an idea. But I don't think we have reached the traceback yet. We're at this kind of peak / temporary stability line, and then we'll see a traceback. So if you are a holder of first edition cards, holos, graded holos, and you're happy to sell, go and sell it, because they're going to drop potentially. I don't know when, but not so far into the future. If you are in the search of holos of first edition, I will say just hold up. Don't buy those yet, because there's going to be changes in the market, and I can foresee that happening. 2021 probably not, because 25th anniversary and there's a lot of things going on. But maybe 2022 will be a year where we see that trace back. But it's hard to predict, right? This is my speculation. Take it with a grain of salt. I'm just saying the cycles and what I see in the market, and I would love to hear your thoughts as well on this topic, because that's what this YouTube is about. It's about hearing you and creating this community of collectors / investors. So let me know in the comment section. And if you have made it this far, make sure to like this video. It will help me a lot with the algorithm and getting this out there for other people to enjoy. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at in terms of the cycle, and yeah. So let me know in the comments, as I said, if you need more information about this, or if you have any other topic you would like me to discuss, I will be happy to do so. And don't forget to like, as I said, this video, subscribe, and until next time, gotta collect them all.